So let me be a bit of an outlier. I actually think Jay Powell is doing a great job. And the reason I think he's doing a great job is that he's waiting to see incoming evidence, this transition from a very, very expansionary monetary policy to sort of a more normalized one is a very hard thing to pull off. And it's right for him to be responding to incoming data. So I think we need to put things in context. First, moving the beginning of the taper by a few months is not a few years. It's a few months. It seems appropriate to me, but it is a few months. And the second thing that I think has been lost in all of this is his and the Fed's staff estimates for inflation in 2022, sort of where we're going to wind up next year, hasn't really moved that much. And so I think it's good that he dropped the transitory term because that was confusing. No one knew what it meant or how long, what does it mean? But in terms of what he's expecting for 2022, he's still around 2%, which is much lower than most of the, media hoopla would suggest.
You also have played the role of healthcare banker. And so as we try to think about this variant and also think about the markets, I'm curious about how you're thinking about how they intersect right now.
Well, they clearly intersect. The market is responding to a lot of uncertainty about Omicron. And look, I think this is unfortunately pretty simple, which is until the world is vaccinated, the virus has the opportunity to mutate and evolve. And there's always the risk. Let's hope it's not the case with regard to Omicron. We don't know yet. But there's always the possibility that because it's brewing in a largely unvaccinated area of the world, that it comes back to bite the more vaccinated areas of the world. And that's the fundamental problem with not vaccinating the whole globe. That's point one. Point two is, let's not forget the massive advances and the really exciting news on antiviral pills. If we can get more of the world vaccinated and we can get the antiviral pills that look so promising, or at least one of them does, approved and into use, I think the market will, not have as much to fear from this virus.
Peter, but the question I'd ask you is, we live in a country where there are no vaccine mandates, as you know. The President Biden, trying to pursue that for companies that have over 100 employees, losing, by the way, at least at the moment, in court. The idea that we can't even do this here, I don't know if you saw Jim Cramer last night, he was trending on Twitter saying we should have a government mandate across the board, the military should do it, and everybody in the U.S. should be mandated. But if we can't even do this here, how could we ever expect to do this across the globe?
Well, I think the issues are much different here and in a lot of the developing world. It still is access and supply that is at least part of the problem. Here, as you point out, that is not the issue. We live in a highly polarized political environment, and it's really sad and unfortunate that this issue has become so polarized because it really shouldn't have been. And it's unfortunate, I think, both for us as collectively, and for individuals who too late realize that they should have gotten vaccinated because they get infected and realize they made a mistake.
You've always been someone who's thought about financial incentives, especially around health care. Do you have any thoughts about how you'd solve this one?
There are lots of possibilities. I don't think the fundamental issue, and various states have tried, payments for getting vaccinated. I think what we're pointing to, at least in the U.S., and again, this is different than in the developing world, is a world in which if an issue gets polarized and it becomes almost more of a cultural thing, there's no amount of money really that can solve that. So, yes, maybe there occasionally can be situations in which paying someone to get vaccinated or penalizing them for not getting vaccinated works. It does appear that, for example, that requiring a vaccine in order to get into movie theaters and restaurants, that has some effect. So that's a form of an incentive. But I think fundamentally this is, at least in the U.S., more of a cultural issue.
And then I wanted to ask you about your day today, because I know you're putting on a
yes,
conference.
That's what I really wanted to talk about.
Right, creating a hub around climate. Explain what you're doing.
So Lazard's starting a new climate center. That's not that interesting because everyone's starting a climate center. But what's different about ours is it's very focused on corporate finance. What is the implication of both the business as usual path and what we might do to try to alter that path on companies' cost of capital, on their on market reaction to M&A transactions, on things that in boardrooms and C-suites we're getting asked all the time. There is a remarkable lack of evidence on many of these issues. So this morning, for example, we are releasing the most comprehensive analysis to date of how equity markets respond to greenhouse gas emissions. And the short answer is that carbon discount is being priced in already. So the higher your emissions, the lower your stock multiple, all else equal. That carbon discount varies significantly across market caps and sectors. So if you're a large cap company in energy or industrials, that carbon discount, that is how much your multiple comes down as your emissions go up, is much larger than for smaller companies in other sectors. And there will be more such research coming from us in the years to come.